Good morning, and welcome back to Rise and Shine College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. And if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame college football. Welcome into the show, everybody. Anybody? Everybody? Few people that are in here. Welcome. Check in as you get here. Wipe them feet. You guys are in for a treat today. You better load up because here we go. Come on. I need that first hello. Where's everybody at? I already got a vote in there. There's a coach. What's up, coach? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. What up, Drew? Good to see you, my friend. Boomer. Sooner. Gridiron Insight. There's my guy there. What's up, my man? How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. All right. Starting to load up a few in here. Come on now. Here we go. Starting to recover, man. I was been struggling the last couple of days with the cold. Hopefully it's subsided to the point that I can get through a show and get through a day. So yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Eric Reherd, welcome into the show. Everybody make sure you wipe those feet as you get here. Yeah, we already got 8 likes. Here we go. Only 15 people so far. Going to be talking a lot about, obviously, big game coming up this tomorrow. On the road, first SEC road game for your Oklahoma Sooners. Taking a look at that one. Obviously, you got another huge game this week in between in the SEC. Alabama plays host to the number 2 Georgia Bulldogs. Alabama coming in, I believe, at number, I want to say 3 or 4, something like that. Anyway, yeah, looking like a big game there. But listen, huge game for the Sooners this weekend. Obviously, they've got a tough one on the road against a team that's been teetering. Obviously, not looking real good at Auburn, but this, a wounded dog is a dangerous dog. You've got a brand new quarterback that's going to be making his first start in a road game in the SEC. Officially have Deion Burks out of the lineup with an injury as well. Look, not looking real good as far as that goes. You even got a cornerback that's going to be moving over to receiver this weekend. You got to hope that everybody steps up and gets it done. But this is all going to go on the back of this freshman quarterback, and hopefully he can kind of turn the fortunes around for the Sooner football offense that has just been kind of in neutral from the start of the season. Obviously, he turned it around a little bit against Tennessee in the second half last week. Don't start with me about what they did or didn't do, taking their foot off the gas. I could care less. But take Oklahoma in the under, as Richard Shear says. And yes, I saw his we'll pop those up here in just a few minutes for your best bets. I'll pop them on the screen and we'll talk about that. Rooting for Alabama and anyone that plays Pitt this weekend. Anyone that plays Pitt. Oh, so you must be one of our West Virginia fans? Is it a eat shit Pitt thing or what? Welcome into the show. Take the under in the Georgia-Alabama game. I would agree with that. I think OU could win just playing defense the whole time. OU 24-10, according to Richard Shear. Okay. Yes. Honey, apple cider vinegar, turmeric, black pepper. Yeah, man, we've got I've actually did a few of those things already. Made a soup that just got to pop some noodles in it and it'll be ready to rock and roll for the rest of the day after this is over with. So, yeah, I'm doing a little bit better, though. Quite a bit better. Thank you for coming in, My Gun Sweetness. Good to see everybody in here. Pitt is playing surprisingly well. They are. They actually have a decent quarterback. And the one thing you know about these Pitt teams is that they're going to play defense. And that's one thing that travels no matter what. It's gonna be something that's gonna help you in the long run. I think this is the same thing you want to say about Oklahoma. That Pitt podcaster pissed you off. Oh, which one? JJ? JJ's our boy. What'd he say? What'd he say? Was this the whole deal about what he was talking about with when the Wild Ute posted about ACC fans kind of going up against everybody? Eli Holstein that transferred from Alabama. That's the one. That's the one. Yep, he looks pretty good, man. We'll have to get JJ back in here before too long. He's pretty busy right now with what he's got going on. We actually have some good guests coming up here in the next few episodes of the show. In fact, today, here in just about probably 10 to 15 minutes, we will talking smack about JJ was talking smack about OU after the game. I didn't see all that. Kimberly K. Good morning. JJ's my boy, and he's actually a fan of Brent Venables, so that would surprise me. But you got to play better. Listen, what's the smack talk? Was it real? Or, was it, what are we talking about? Auburn is now a -1 favorite. The betting has moved it, huh? Okay. What's up, Zach? Welcome into the show. That's all right. That means that you should put some money on OU on the money line. Just get paid better anyways when you go on the money line. JJ Stokes. Yeah. What's up there, Coach? Everybody say hello to Coach. Welcome into the show. Glad everybody's in here. Yeah, listen, we actually have here in about 10 to 15 minutes, we will have you guys asked for it, you get it. Barry and Mac. That's Barry Wise and Damian Mackey from the Barry and Mac Show will be joining us to talk about Michael Hawkins, the Sooner offense, and what we expect moving forward. Everything, as we said, we still got everything in front of you if you're an Oklahoma fan. And if you're this Oklahoma football team, you saw some positive things out of Michael Hawkins. I think as positive as anything was the fact that he didn't try to get everything in one possession when he came in the other day. I think that's still one of the bigger things that I saw out of this that made me feel good. I've expected that when you saw him, it was probably going to be from then on out once he ever took the field, whether it was for an injury or if it was for something like what we've seen where Jackson Arnold wasn't effective. And I think that I've got some video that will pop up here on the screen once we get DMAC in here along with Barry and kind of talk about what we were seeing, some of the reasons why you saw they made the change, and then obviously what you saw after the change. But I would still tell you that the one right before that, when he came in before the half and they ran, winning that series, obviously starting off with a bad snap to start with didn't help anything. They lost 5 yards right away. But when you go back and look at it, he had a good little run there, then followed by an incomplete pass. And then he had a run out to the side. He was on a pass play. Nothing was there. He got chased out of the pocket. Maybe could have gotten that first down yardage. Possibly could have thrown it across his body and hit a scrambling receiver that was trying to get open. But the thing I would tell you is that instead of doing something crazy and trying to get it all back at one time, he recognized and realized what time of the game this is. We'd rather not have another turnover at this point of the half. You've got less than a minute left at that point. He steps on out of bounds. They punt. They end up going to overtime or to halftime from there. And then, just a little bit at a time, he got a little better every time. And he started feeling his way around. And that was something that, to me, that was important. So, look, and I think, Christopher, you're not the only negative I see is Hawkins as a freshman. Yeah, listen, it is what it is, Coach. You had a true sophomore who was basically, making his first starts as well. But we were seeing bad decision making out of him. I think that that's what when you have those catastrophic turnovers, and it wasn't just that they were unforced, really. At least two of them were completely unforced. So the other one, you could blame it on play calling if you want to, or just not having great handle on the football. But in the end, those three turnovers, it's just what happened. It was not good. What gave it 12 points to Tennessee right there. If we don't turn over the ball like we did, we win. Won't be pretty on the eyes, but we'll be better and win 2017. Yeah, look, 2017 is what you're saying. Okay. And that's the whole thing. What's up there, Des? Good to see you, brother. Yes, ma'am. I've been waiting to get them on here pretty soon. Anyways, we've they've been busy, and it just hadn't come together as of yet. But we were already planning on this for a while. But once you requested it, I wanted to make sure we got it on there. Still think OU slaps Auburn. A mediocre quarterback has no chance in a must-win game against Oklahoma. Okay. Listen, I feel good about them. I think that we want to see it first, and it is a road game, and this is one of the tougher environments to play in on the road. Probably a little less intimidating in the daytime, but we don't know what that field situation is going to be like after the hurricane came through. I mean, it could be anything. Yeah, freshman, he's too confident in running without sliding or getting out of bounds. Now, here's what I would tell you about this, Zach. If you followed Michael Hawkins in high school, he played for basically, I think, 3 different high schools. One of them being Allen. There's a lot of crap that went on at Allen that, Chad Morris was had some issues there going on at Allen. And just one of those things where you got to kind of look at it as a deal. But he was able to handle. Get back, Norman. Sit down. He was able to handle a lot of pressure. He was running for his life a lot. I think this is kind of what he's used to. It's kind of what he's used to. So, but we're gonna go ahead and get started with. I believe that's DMAC already here. We may only have him by audio today. I think he's out on the road. So we'll see what we do getting him in here. But let's see. Welcome into the show, Damian Mackey, wide from the 2000 National Championship Oklahoma Sooners. Hey, man, it's good to have you on the show.
Man, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you.
What's going on, brother? Good to be on, man. I appreciate you for having me.
Hey, man, always good to talk to you, bro. It's been a while. We've been trying to get you on for a little bit, but hey, I was just telling everybody that it was my request. I had a lot of people on my in the audience here that they love watching you and Barry from week to week, and so they've been saying you need to get him on. You need to get him on. So we had to work to see if we can get it
That's
done,
love.
man.
That's love, brother. That's love.
Absolutely. Well, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm in Orlando on business, conducting business, and so I promised my wife we got business situated. We'd spend a day at Disney, so I'm on my way to the parks right now, getting ready to get on some roller coasters and things of that nature, I guess.
Right on. Hey, man, it's you're never too old to go to the greatest place on earth, right?
Nah.
Kid in there and get some. Do you have kids? You have kids, right?
4 kids, man. We stacked.
4.
We stacked to the ceiling. Yeah, they about to have a blast.
Oh yeah, man. Oh, well, then you're the daddy of the year right now, taking them during school and everything. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we live the entrepreneur's life. So my kids, they all get good grades, straight A's, and they take care of business. Then they get to rock with us.
Absolutely. So listen, obviously we mostly need to talk about this offense and what's going on with this offense. And I was watching you guys' show from Sunday, and I thought you got a lot of really good insights in the differences between the RPO and the and just a read option offense, the quick game and stuff like that you have with that uh, the leech air raid. It's a lot different, right? I mean, I was saying that I felt like this was a situation where I think a lot of the things that have been going on with this offense, not only was it just everything that's been going on with JA, but it also feels like it was something where they were trying to marry two systems together and it just wasn't really clicking. Is that close to what you would think is going on?
I think that's a symptom. I absolutely believe that's a symptom. I think, anytime you're on offense, well, let me say it like this. Let me put it to you like this. The advantage in football, there's an advantage on each side of the ball, right? So on offense, the advantage is all 11 players know what's supposed to happen. And because they know what's supposed to happen, they have the ability to cheat angles, to get to the spot, or to try to deceive the defense. We're gonna let you think this is happening, and then we're gonna go in that direction, right? Misdirection, bootleg, right? RPO is the extreme of that, right? RPO says if you do this, we'll do that. But that's the advantage of
Right.
offense. The advantage of defense is there are 11 moving players versus offense, where traditionally, right, the quarterback is kind of like a point guard and doesn't really move so much. Obviously, there's a lot of dual threat quarterbacks today, but the defense has 11 guys who have their eyes on the football, right? If I'm an offensive lineman, I can't see the play. I just got to block a guy. If I'm a backside receiver, I can't see the play. I just got to block a guy. On defense, theoretically, all 11 players can see the ball. Well,
Right.
OU's offense, think about that advantage. If we're running an RPO offense, and first, that's not Seth's bread and butter. It's not, right?
Right.
Second, right, the offensive coordinator it is his bread and butter, Levy, is now in Mississippi State, which, by the way, we see how they're doing and performing there. Well, you have an offense who is essentially nullifying their advantage. They're saying, linemen are saying, hey, I saw this. The running back is saying, hey, I saw that. And of course, the trigger man, as you guys heard Venable say, just flat out missed the read on multiple occasions on Saturday. And so I think,
Right.
what Coach V said was very important, which is that we've got to stop thinking and we got to identify who we are. Because when I watched the game, I had my head in my hands until I saw Hawkins come in. I know offense. I know a bunch of different styles,
Mm.
coverages, schemes. And I was like, what in the H are we doing? I couldn't even tell what we were doing. I saw some Levy principles. They ran, by the way, they ran some leech stuff, even with Jackson. They ran some quick game stuff, air raid stuff, spread them out and get the ball out quickly. But there is no foundation. There's no real depth to the offense. And I think I just said it since after Temple. I think the biggest thing that they needed to do was get back and find out who they are.
Yeah, definitely. And I've actually got some stuff up on the screen right now where you're just seeing like it seemed like Jackson was making the wrong decision on the RPO almost every time out. We're looking at the one right here. It's just, I mean, you've got a safety that's 24 yards away. You've got a hat on a hat for all but the defensive end, and Jackson's right in his sights. You just kept seeing that. And then you've got after the first turnover that Oklahoma forces, then right away that fake pitch that turns into a fumble, and we're bringing in Barry right here as well. But I mean, instead of actually pitching it, I mean, Javonte walks in the end zone there, right? But you're running quarterback power with the quarterback that's not exactly this isn't a fullback we're talking about. It's not Seth himself that's going to be running it right here. And again, Javonte's wide open. There's lots of green out in front of him. Hell, I would have probably been close to getting a touchdown, and I'm not that good. So, you know what I mean? It's just, but the interception to me was absolutely, the interception was just completely egregious to me. He throws it with a lot of, I mean, confidently throws a pick. And, we're looking at it from the side angle right here on the first couple of views. But as we're going to look at it from the other angle here in just a second, I mean, you've got Burks streaking across the middle on this next one. And it's like, I mean, nobody covers him. It's a touchdown for sure if he throws it to the middle of the field. And to not even look that way, and you're throwing it into double coverage, it just goes to show you he was just making poor decisions. And it almost feels as if, though, whatever's been going on, and I get it that the offensive line's been getting their ass kicked. We understand that. But, I mean, you've got to be better than this. I mean, look, even even once Burks entered the middle of the field, you had the safety hit the sideline. It would have been broken. That's a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Backwards pass is just as bad, man. The backwards pass to me, you heard Venables say that's not even an option. And had he handed it off to Javonte there, I mean, he probably gets anywhere from at minimum 5 yards to as many as he may want to. It just kind of depends on how it turns out. But they had the blocking there to throw that behind the line because the defensive end kind of forces it. There's no way you can throw it forward. And, it was a pretty nice little hole there. And for guys like this at the Division I level, you would have figured that he would have made it there. In the end, it was just kind of to me, it was just bad all the way around.
Can I speak to that? Let me speak to that real quick. Let me speak to that.
Okay.
Here's my biggest issue. We're running Jackson's offense. We were running Levy's offense, but we're also running Jackson's offense. We're not running Seth's offense. And maybe there's an indictment on Seth for that, right? Maybe Seth should have said, hey, man, you're not good enough to run this, or you don't run it to my liking. And he should have said, we're going to do this instead. But when you got the 5-star number 1 recruit, dual threat quarterback, who obviously we let DG, well, I mean, it came out that DG was leaving when Levy left. But this offense, if there's any blame to go around, we can't beat a dead horse about an offensive line that Beatenbow set up to not be great 8 months ago. Like, we knew that 8 months ago. All offseason, we were concerned about the offensive line. They are who we thought they were. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. But the offensive line gets unnecessary, undue blame in a space where the quarterback, who's supposed to be a trigger man in an offense that is his, is just not cutting the mustard. Like you said, the interception's egregious. The interception is unfortunate. How dare he double throw to a double coverage and your number 1 guy is cutting across the other way? That pissed me off. That fumble on the 5-yard line.
Oh.
Tennessee is squarely in a grudge match. Who's going to be the tougher, rougher defense game if we punch that in? And on first down, we talk about these RPO schemes. Guess what that QB power has? It has the option to throw the pitch. Guess who the read is? That end who is uncovered. Jackson Arnold wanted the opportunity to score and be the guy who got the kudos. And I'm projecting here, right? We don't know this, but I'm just telling you that is an RPO play. And sometimes coach will say, hey, keep, right? And maybe coach said keep. That's possible, 100. But that play is truly a part of the bones of a run pass option. If Jackson was doing best by the team, Barnes has that DN out leverage. He's a better athlete. The DN has to flip his hips, and it's a race to the pylon. And he can probably just stick his foot in the ground and score in 5 yards. That's the quarterback, period. And everyone wants to complain about the offensive line. And I'm probably one of the biggest complainers about the running backs because I don't think they're special. It doesn't matter. The fundamentals of that offense have been in place. And of course, how do we know that's the case? Because as soon as the pup comes in, it just looks different. Yep. And now all of a sudden plays are working. And now all of a sudden running backs have creases. And now all of a sudden the O-line can block long enough to get the ball out. And so those are the things that I think we have to pay close attention to because just the facts are the facts. Same player, same scheme, same OC. The only difference is you change the point guard and all of a sudden at least it looks competent. And it gives us at least some form of an outlook heading into the second half of the season.
And we want to welcome in Barry Wise from the other half of the Barry and Mac show. Welcome into the show, my friend. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Thank you for having me. I'm my buddy Tim here. He's just finishing up breaking a sweat. So
what's up, my man? How you doing?
There you go.
Welcome into the show. Hey, man, and obviously we've got D-Mac in here doing what D-Mac does, breaking it down, letting us know. And I did go ahead and pull up some video. And D-Mac, I don't know how much you can see this, but I went ahead and brought up some video of Michael Hawkins too in the same game. So just wanted to show a couple of different things, but you can go ahead and if you're watching it, go ahead and just talk about what you see here as well. Oops. Okay, here we go. We got him in here. What's up there, D-Mac? Obviously, we got here it is. Starting off with him getting this strike over the middle. Now you see this offensive line; they're doing their job. And obviously we're gonna show each play a few times. I went ahead and ran it that way. So, but the offensive line is holding its own there, and this is against one of the better D lines in the SEC, you know.
Oh, goodness.
So I would tell you that, you know, and then this one right here, this is one of the ones where he had some pressure and he
Great
still was
throw.
able to step into the pocket and make a heck of a throw.
Great throw.
Right? Just
Yeah.
a dart, ripping it, you know, and then yeah, so I mean, he's got that defensive end breathing down his neck. He steps up, makes a quick, you know, and he can rip it, man. That's the one thing is everybody thought he was just a runner, right, Barry?
Yeah. Aaron Murray talked about this throw on his evaluation of the tape when he was, and he said that is a hard throw because you got to rip that thing in with velocity. That's not a little pitch and catch. That throw to Bauer is big time. So's that too.
Yeah, I mean, in this one, he's looking over. This is his third progression right here across the middle, right?
Yeah. 2, 3, eyes back around. Yeah.
Delivers a bullet.
And positionally, it's so when we talk about accuracy, it's not just getting the ball to the guy, but it's where they catch it, right? In basketball, you talk about getting the ball to a guy where he can go right into a shot. Very same thing. This is the best throw of the night right here. That's the best throw of the night. This throw, it is DMAC talks about layered throws, right? Over one defender, between the other.
Yep.
This is what you're talking about, right? This is a throw that his balance is perfect. I actually took a look at this throw over on OU Insider. His balance, watch when he steps up, is phenomenal, right? That is one thing
Yep.
that Jackson has struggled with a little bit, is staying on balance with these throws. And
We had happy feet a lot. We were talking
yeah,
about that early from game 2. You
and
know,
he's
against
not a
Houston.
well, and Hawkins is not a patter. He doesn't sit back there and pat his feet and pat the ball. He gets into his motion. It's 1, 2, 3, and it's out of there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's why I say, I mean, he just looked calm and collected. But I mean, as you saw in every one of those plays, there was a couple of times where he had some pressure, but the truth be told was he wasn't really being completely pressured, right?
No.
Or well, he was, but I mean, they gave him enough blocking where this is, I mean, if you go and look at this now, I'm talking to my comment section here right here because there's a few guys in there that have been just hounding and killing the offensive line and Bill Bedenbow and all that. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's been great all year because it hasn't been. But it almost feels like you needed to, and DMAC jump in here anytime you want to, but it almost feels like to me like you needed to find a way to make it easier. And BV said that during the, you know, already during this week, that we can make it easier by just saying, hey, hand the damn ball off. Hey, you know, or hey, this is a throw right here. And how do you the thing about the RPO is, yeah, for the lineman, it's tough. And I think that you haven't had the same lineman in more than once in a game. I mean, you've had what, 5, 6 different you know,
Groups,
combinations of these guys. So rather than I like the idea of let's just go back to you know, you didn't see a ton of RPO stuff whenever he got in there, and that's probably a good thing. But you keep hearing that it was Jackson and his family that was demanding to stick with this RPO system, and it's not something that's really been beneficial for the way this offensive line works. I agree that aside from Taylor Tatum, I don't see a running back that I think is special either, and I don't know what DeMarco is doing with the rotation anyway.
Yeah, the rotation is a little puzzling. The fact that all of the backs, and me and DMAC have talked about this on our show, we kind of get as guys who see it from like a football and a training side and like what you have to do to solve problems. And you have multiple backs who have the same issues, right? You have backs who run headfirst into the pile. They do not know how to keep their eyes up. They do not know how to skirt through trash, right? They don't. DMAC talked about it, pressing the hole. They don't know how to press the hole, and this is a system where you cannot run full speed. It's not a dive play. It's not power. You're not just flying into the line of scrimmage. You have got to stutter up to the hole and then explode when you have the crease, right? Alabama backs historically have done it really well. Georgia's had guys that do it really well. Bijan at Texas was like one of the best I've ever seen at doing
Time
it.
out,
Right.
Just
Barry. Time out, Barry. We ain't gonna do that and not put no respect on our running backs that have done it well. Damn it, Georgia and Alabama, and those guys are cute. Damn it,
Get
OU's had
him,
a
get
ton
him,
of
get
backs
him.
that do it well. I'm
there
just
we go.
let's not act like we don't create studs. You know, hey, I'll say this, B. I apologize for interrupting you, brother, but
That
You're
was
good, brother. Go
hilarious.
no,
for it.
we
Thought you
we
back
don't
on.
have a ton of NFL talent today. That doesn't mean some of these
Mm.
guys can't grow into it. And you know what? The 99 season, you know what they said about our team? We didn't have a ton of NFL talent. Well, what happened was guys got comfortable. They got confidence in our system. They got repetitions. They got experience. And guess what? That 2000 to 2002 era, a ton of guys went to the league. A ton of national award winners. A ton of guys who are all American. A ton of guys who are all conference. And that happens because you play winning football. And so when you look at our offense and the sieve that it's become, you notice that there are just a bunch of it's not a bunch. There's 11 moving parts doing whatever. And again,
Mm.
the thing that makes me feel a little bit better is you put in a puppy. He's a true frosh. Kid's like 18 years old, and it looked like a unit. Yeah, we did. We still didn't have NFL dudes all over the place, but I'll tell you what, Petaway has something. Petaway has something, and we couldn't see that in Petaway because there was no opportunity for Petaway to get the
100%.
ball. I was saying this to Barry. I said, 2000 season, we have Josh Heupel. We knew when the ball was coming to our way. We knew when the ball was coming. We knew. And if I had my guy beat by half a step, Josh trusted and the ball would come and I'd catch the ball and we'd be on and running. And everybody talked about how amazing our offense was. 2001, Nate Hibb was our quarterback. We're running the same stuff. We're still beating guys, but now the ball's not coming. Guess what the first indictment was? The offensive line. You know why? Because Nate held the ball. The
Yeah.
second indictment, which a lot of people couldn't really own, was, oh man, all of a sudden receivers suck. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a minute. We just went through Red October. We just beat, Florida State. They had Gibson and Tay Cody and all these NFL dudes. We're kicking their ass. Now all of a sudden we suck. It became apparent when we played Texas. Nate goes down. J Dub comes in. The same stuff, same players, same scheme, same offensive line and wide receivers. Now all of a sudden we're open again. It's because J Dub knew how to put the ball on the
Yeah.
dot. And so, in offense, it's so much about chemistry. It's so much about faith and trust and knowing people are going to be where they're supposed to be, which is repetition. And so I just see what's happening and I watch. I used to call him JFA, man, capital, all caps, capital JFA. Like, man, he's our guy. He was the problem, and he was not the only problem. Seth has his problems. The offensive line has their problems. The running backs have their problems. Injury is a problem, but the quarterback, the point guard, if they are not the trigger man, and think about it like this, guys. What if we're all on an airplane? And I have a job to do to make sure we've got fuel, and Barry has a job to do to make sure we're not going into any, I don't know, bad weather. And you've got a job to do to make sure you can spot the enemies. But we got somebody in the front seat. It's their job to pull the trigger and kill the enemy. And if they don't pull the trigger and kill the enemy can eventually kill us. Imagine how we all feel if that one guy can't pull the damn trigger to kill the enemy. We all know we're sitting ducks, and eventually, right, we might be at our demise. Well, that's what the quarterback position is in college football today.
Right, right.
If everyone else does their job well, but the quarterback doesn't make a good decision, it looks shitty. And so, well, we've seen the product for the last 3 weeks. And then we saw
Yeah,
the product when the pup came in and he didn't make as many mistakes.
Well, let
absolutely. And I
me. I
want
want
you
to
to
say. Let me say something to that just real quick. That there are some guys who, when it comes to playing the quarterback position, that there is obviously arm talent, there
yes,
is feet, but that there's also just this level of awareness and the ability to see and feel things when things are happening real fast. And you see players that have it and you see players don't. Usually it's a separator from high school to college, just the mental side and how quick that reaction and those reflexes are. But in Hawkins and Jackson's case, you see it and it's staggering, right? Last year
right.
that Jackson looked good because there wasn't a lot of expectation. So when he ripped that ball into Farouk against BYU, it looked great, right? When he was playing Arizona, who, may not have had the best defense on the field, he looked really good, but he also made some errors. What you're seeing now is he's the leader of the system. All the pressure is on, and you're seeing that just little delay, that slight tick in reaction and being
Right.
able to let it rip. So you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the ability to see, feel, assess, and then do, you're going to have trouble.
Real quick, and I want to get to what, because I think that this is a good point here. I think that this is the dilemma that you're having on Twitter, on X, and throughout social media, where there's a lot of folks that are saying this kind of thing. Jason, I think this quarterback switch is a bad move. O-line has been garbage. Wide receiver is a mash unit. OC has sucked. And you bench the inexperienced quarterback. What happens if Hawkins struggles tomorrow, whatever? And then he's also saying there are growing pains with young quarterbacks. Nick had major errors in the game too. Look, guys, I would ask you guys what you say to that, but I would tell you that I understand that there's a lot of things that have happened I think it all worked against JA, right? And I would also say that it's one thing to come in the middle of a game that you're not winning. There's not a ton of expectations on what you can do to go and win the game at that moment, as compared to being the guy going on the road for your first SEC game at Auburn and getting a win. There might be a little bit of expectation there, but what I would tell you is the difference that we just saw, and this is why I wanted to make sure that I put that film up there, was that there's things that, whatever the reasons were, and you can say whatever you want, but Jay was making the wrong decisions. You had to pull him out of that game at 56% completions, 3 turnovers that were all on him, and they had 72 total yards, and he had 54 passing yards and a 1.2 QBR. I've been one of the guys that said you got to back off of JA just a little bit, but I was saying, sitting in the stands at halftime, he's got to go, or before he even got out of the game, it's time for him to come out. It's time for him to come out. I didn't even care if it was Casey that went in instead. Somebody needed to be in there.
Yeah, and I don't know if D-Mac wants to step in, but
I'm gonna say this. Let me say this real quick,
go
because I
ahead.
got my kids are like, Dad, dude, we're in the parking lot looking at the Tower of Terror. So let me say this real quick.
Let's go.
They'll live. You can't tell 21 other starters that we're trying to win this game and continue to allow 80,000 people, 90,000 people, millions of people watching the game to see that one player is directly responsible for a lot of the mishappenings. And that sounds terrible. It sounds bad to say that, but again, you have an interception with no pressure. You decided to go with the ball. You have a fumble after a huge turnover on first down. And the bread and butter of our offense is RPO, which means you have a run pass option, which means you're reading. The end gave us the pitch. And then the third one, again, you throw a lateral because you literally went. Imagine you're let's use a military analogy again. Imagine you're the general and you say, hey guys, we're going to go to this ridge and we're going to park these tanks. And because we do that, we're going to flank the enemy and give our guys protection as they try to go take over this land. And as the sergeant, you say, screw what he said, we're going to do this instead. And because of that, you lose 10,000 guys in battle. Right? Like I use these military analogies because that's the level of faith we play with as football players. Obviously the stakes aren't as high. I don't want to make the analogies sound like we do things that are as important as military, but when I'm a receiver and they say, hey, you got to get inside this DB, you got to block his upfield shoulder, it's because the play is designed for the running back to go that way. And if I block the wrong shoulder, I could get called for holding, right? Boom, the play comes back. Same thing applies, right? If they're saying, hey, guys, if they're giving us this look, it's a give. And the quarterback doesn't. And then he compounds it by a sack. And then he compounds it again by throwing a lateral. That you can't, right? He is literally going against the will of the play of the program. Imagine you're the receiver and you're like, hey, man, pre-snap, I lined up and they were in this defense. Why the hell isn't the running back running down the field? That's what I would have said. Because I'm the guy who knows everybody else's jobs. I would be like, no, I'm in the slot. They lined up in the 32 or they lined up in the 42 front, 4 down, 2 linebackers, and the overhang's over me. That's a 6-man box. That should have been a give. I'm going back to the bench on the sideline. And I'm saying to Jackson, hey, bro, why didn't you give it to him? Venables wouldn't have had to say it. So that right there is the part that I think the casual fan doesn't understand. 10 other dudes on offense recognize, understand, and have repped. They've repped that in practice. So they know if they're in a 42 over and that overhang is over me and it's a light box and we've got 6 plus a tight end and the quarterback and the running back, that should be a give. We got a hat for a hat. The running back should be getting 4 to 6 yards. Why was there a pass into the flat? That's something that you just can't. You know what I mean? You can't reconcile that. That's not something we give chances on. God forbid, that's his 3rd turnover. That's after the interception that he had time to throw. That's after the fumble on 1st down. That's your 3rd turnover. With all due respect, brothers, sit your ass down and watch the rest of this game from the sideline like the rest of us, right? You got some things you need to learn. It's okay. It's not the end of the world, but it's the end of the day. Come sit your butt on the sideline and let's give somebody else an opportunity. I'm 100%, 1,000% behind that notion as a head coach.
Absolutely. And to me, I've been saying this a lot too. This was the one time I've been saying this for the last couple of years, was that we need to see Brent Venables show that he's more than just a defensive coach. He's now the head coach. It's not just about defense for him. He keeps saying that at first when he came, it was autonomy between the offense and no. You need to be just as detailed with your offense and what you want to see be in the game plan as you are with your defense, in my opinion. It's your record, and they're doing things when you've noticed that there's times that he's hesitated on deciding whether to go for it or not. This is because he hasn't been, to me, been deep enough. And it's great now that he has Zach Alley, because he can trust that they're going to call things that way and they can run those practices, and they've got the personnel in place. To me, it's time for you to get a hold of this entire team. And if it means that, if you're telling me that, and I just want to get, before you get out of here, I want to get your opinion on this. And I love BV. But to me, I've been saying this. I feel like this has been a situation where it's like the head chef of any restaurant cannot say, "Oh, I was in charge of desserts tonight," when the patrons come in and get food poisoning. You're responsible for all of it. You're responsible for all of it, not just one part of it anymore. Now that you're a head coach, and that's the next step for him, is to take control of the entire thing and decide, this is how we're going to do things. I think there's a lot of people that have said it was a lazy hire. I'm not going to go into all that. I'm not saying anything bad about Seth. I think that there was a lot of things that went into this, and I don't think that he's been involved enough in that side of the ball to, we know how, really focused his game plans are on defense. Why are we not seeing the same thing on the other side of the ball? D-Mac? Oh, he's out of there. He must have split. Okay. But you tell me anyway, man. Barry. It was really for anyone anyway, because I feel like this is something that we have to see.
Yeah, so I thought his comments were interesting after the game. And it was less about what he said and more about what he was implying. But he said that, and to me, this was a level of ownership. He said that Hawkins was really good at handling the basics of the offense. Yeah. And when you go back to the Seth hire, you got to think about, and this is maybe the thing fans don't really consider all the time, is one, you've got NIL is absolutely a factor. In other words, you got guys who are coming in, making big deals, expecting to play. The people who are providing the money are expecting them to play. And Seth was already in-house. He already has coaching experience. He has had successful tenures as an OC at different places. I don't like when people go to the head coach thing, especially at North Texas. Being an offensive coordinator only and being the head man, as we see with Venables, right? It's a totally different animal. It is. Seth was a good OC with a great background and lineage with Fedora and Leach and Wilson and like phenomenal background. And there were calls that he has had this year that were we've talked about on the show. They were phenomenal calls. Jackson just did not execute. They were great thing. The play you showed where Burke is streaking down the middle, that was a great route concept against that defense. Jackson has to hit that. If Jackson hits that, it's man, look at Latrell, how great of an OC he is for calling that up. Deion Burks was wide open, but Jackson doesn't hit it, so we go, must be a bad OC, must not be a good play caller, right?
Right. Well, and that's why
And
I feel like it's been one of those, it's marrying two systems together, and it really didn't. And maybe there was demands going on to keep him around and that kind of stuff. I mean, you can't expect a freshman to come in and be ready right away if you're Brent Venables, and you probably didn't want to start a brand new freshman. You probably didn't even really want to start JFA. You know, whenever it all came down to it, you probably, if you're Venables, you would rather have the experience, right?
you
Of
would,
keeping, you know, DG around. I know where you guys are at on DG, and I know that I think that DG was the right guy for the time, right?
Sure.
For when he came in, I think he was the perfect bridge guy. I love Dylan Gabriel, but I also agree that he was limited in what he could do athletically. You know, I mean, there was only so much he's not a guy that's gonna come in here and be able to win the game for you. He wasn't going to lose a lot of games, but he wasn't always going to win them. I mean, obviously the Red River notwithstanding, there was times that we saw that he couldn't make the big play. The deep ball was not his thing unless he got it out right on time. I mean, if there was any kind of hesitation whatsoever, he was going to be short. You know, we talked about that for not having the arm. You can't be off. You can't be out of your timing there, DG. Come on. You know, so to me, it was always one of those things where I'm not going to say the whole new OC, all that other stuff. And I also think you would have been behind no matter what. You would have had to teach somebody. And here's the thing. If what they got Jackson to stay for was the sticking with this RPO, this probably explains why Joe John is still there, because he's that conduit for the offense, maybe, you know, that goes back to Leb. Some of these things that they just kind of add up at this point. The bottom, somebody said in here in the comments a second ago, hey, the best guys got to play, and the best guys are playing on the defensive side, and everywhere else but the quarterback, it's got to be the same. And I think that if you continue to not, if you go back to Jackson right now, knowing what we just saw at the end of last week, we saw him come apart. We saw him play shaky for 3 weeks, and then we saw him come apart last week. And we saw probably the best defensive performance in OU football of the last 15 years.
Yep.
What signal are you giving the rest of your football team if you go back to Jackson this week?
Yeah, you can't. To me, once Hawkins hurdles into the end zone, he's the starter, right? And you could tell the way he galvanized the players, the way there was an urgency with the team. You can see that and you can feel that. That is palpable. And if people don't want to, Damian alluded to it in reference to Hibble and Heupel from 2000 to 2001, but you don't even need to go back that far. Go to 2015, and this is on my mind because I just got done talking with Stephen Parker about this over on the Barry and Mac show. Go to 2015 OUTCU and watch the first half and watch the second half, and you'll see how much you could have the same players, same everything, same play calls. You have Baker Mayfield quarterbacking one half, Trevor Knight quarterbacks the second half. And OU, Jason could not move the football a lick in the second half. Why was that? Because Trevor was late with his throws, doesn't have the same release, doesn't have the same vision. It was the same offense. Lincoln Riley was running the same system, calling the same plays. And in 2015, by this time, people were saying he's the best OC in the game, right? Mid 2015. After the Texas game, and OU is well on their way in this case to being in the CFP. At that point, and me and Steven talked, it was a tale of two halves because Baker just had the it, as he called it, and we all know that, right? Baker had that mojo that Trevor. But
Absolutely. Yeah. There was a different thing about Baker.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's the same
Chip on his
offense,
shoulder.
same players, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Same exact thing, and yet one quarterback cannot move the ball, and the other one is launching bombs into the end zone for 30 yards,
Well, yeah, and that's
and
what
that's
he
what
was
you got.
better moving out of the pocket and moving the pocket around and just pleading that playground type of player. I always said that about Baker. You know, when you got him out of the pocket, I never understood why the Browns decided that they needed to stick him in the center of that pocket when he's little as he is,
Yeah.
can't see over the line really. But you want him to be stuck in that back of that pocket when he's so much better doing it his way, you know, and he doesn't put himself in harm's way a whole lot when he's running like that. And that's what I was saying about Michael the other night when he ran the ball, aside from the 2 goal line things, which, by the way, if nothing's going to endear you to your teammates like what we saw there at the goal line. Real quick,
100%.
super chat, T Boomer, thank you, man. I know I saw this a little while ago. We had the film up, so I didn't want to say it during the middle of that time, but good morning to you, and thank you for the super chat, my guy. But yeah, I think that to me, that was the whole deal, is that really, if you start thinking about what you saw at that moment, you didn't see him pressing. I was saying before you guys came into the show, I still was one of the most impressive things to me, and I was sitting on row 11. I was sitting on row 11 watching this thing, and when he comes in, you know, they had the bad snap, and then he had a nice little run up the middle. Then they had an incompletion, but then that third down play where he probably could have made the yards to gain. He may have been able to throw it across his body to a scrambling receiver. But what does he do? He steps out of bounds instead.
Yeah.
Doesn't get himself hit, doesn't turn the ball, doesn't put the ball in jeopardy of being turned over. He didn't look like he was scared or worried about it. It just seemed like, you know what? It's under a minute. I don't have to do nothing crazy right here. I can walk out of bounds. We get to halftime, live to fight another day. He kind of worked himself into the flow of things throughout those first few possessions in the second half. I don't care what anybody tells you. Tennessee didn't take their foot off of shit. They were press man, 8 men in the box often the entire second half, making sure, because it wasn't out of reach. And in college football,
not.
anybody that thinks that 19-3 or 22-3 is out of reach is insane.
Yeah, well, especially too, by the time you had that thing there, it was a 2-point conversion from being a one possession game. And also, if you go look at the PFF, Tennessee pressured Hawkins more than they pressured Jackson. There was more heat on Hawkins in the second half because I think they felt that pressure. Heupel knew that the game wasn't out of reach for sure, right? And I think there was a concerted effort to try and make Hawkins have to think a tick or two more. I think Hawkins is going to be great for this team with his ability. And I was, again, a Jackson fan, but once you can, the thing that you cannot see until it's game time is how quick is a guy's trigger, right? You can watch all the drills. You can even look good in practice. And sometimes we've talked about this on our show. You look good in practice because you've repped things so much that you know how to win that rep against that defense, against that look, against those players. You get into live action, you got to be able to move. One of the things, and you'll see it here, that's going to be great with Hawkins, and you already saw it in the game. He has what I call just kind of easy speed.
Mhm.
Kyler had it too, where when you get those ends rushing up field, which somebody asked about the O line, when you get those ends rushing up field, if you can just get outside of them and they lose their containment, you've got a ton of field to play with. It's scramble drill now. You can get a Petaway working back. You can get a Reagan's working back. You can get a Dion Burks working back. And now all of a sudden, what should have been, or if Jackson was in, was a negative play, you're now in a situation um, where you have a positive play and a chance to actually break something loose. In reference to the O line, the one thing, and I've talked about this on OUinsider.com. If you guys aren't over there, go grab yourself a membership. Just shout out to them. I've posted videos where and Gabe Eichert has talked about this. The footwork is just not great with some of those guys.
Right.
Sexton, Tarkin's a little bit better, right? Gabe said Tarkin has had a good year. I think 54 Nwewu has not played bad either. But everywhere else, it has been just the struggle bus, man.
Sure. Well,
And but it's
I
not
think
been
that
the
was the
worst
question I was
aspect.
asking you guys too a minute ago, was that when you go to this other offense, when you kind of change it going straight back to your normal air raid that Seth knows, which that's what he's run, right? And to be honest with you, up until Levy got here, that's what they were running at OU too. So that's what Lincoln runs. It's the same thing. So I think that and then with Hawkins, I think that that's what he was running more. I was just showing that video of him in high school. This is nothing new to him to be running out of pressure situation. And he was running, if you notice that, yes, he took off on a couple of those plays, but he also was running, trying to stay, just staying out of the grasp and looking down the field, trying to make a throw. The very first one on that, he throws a touchdown pass. He has to juke two guys in the backfield. But it helps your offensive line if they know what the play, if they don't have to wait until they either see a running back go by with the football or not go by with the football to know if it's pass blocking or run blocking. Give them, if you're struggling, you want to make it easier on those guys, right?
Yeah, well, you want to make it easier on them, and they also just need to know your rhythm, right? And I think that was what, to kind of go to a Baker or even a Kyler or Jalen, right? If you have a quarterback who can move outside the pocket, it's getting a feel, it's knowing who is back there, what their tendencies are, right? Is it a guy who tends to, like Baker, to get into the nuts and bolts? He was a pivoter. He would actually very often, if he was pressured and he had pressure coming from his blind side, he would step up and then pivot back and actually go back the other way. He wouldn't immediately roll right, like Jason or Jackson will sprint right almost immediately. Baker had a nice little pivot in his game, and you know what? So does Hawkins. Hawkins actually has a really nice pivot. But if the O line knows your tendencies, they know what your mobility looks like, right? They know where you tend to go, and they know that they don't have to be perfect. Like, you're now in a good decision. If your QB is supposed to be handing the ball off and he's not, that's frustrating for the offensive line. That's frustrating there were multiple plays where the O line did not block it up perfectly when Hawkins was in the game. And you know what? It still looked okay. There was some stuff where he got sacked and he just had no chance. But Tennessee's also a good football team. And if Hawkins plays that whole game, it's probably within a field goal or so with how the defense was playing. Because you take away just one of those turnovers, the safety was just awful. You couldn't have the safety. To me, the safety is what lost them the game, because that was a possession swing, that was a
Sure.
field position swing, on top of the 2 points. The offensive line question, I saw that come through. Will they gel and figure it out? Historically, beaten both teams have. It's just
Right,
taken.
and also if you keep this group of guys together a little bit, here's the other part that I'm going to tell you guys. Injuries change the whole dynamic of everything, guys. When you don't have the same group of guys, because offensive lines are judged together, not single, not one at a time, not one by one. They're judged in how they work together, how they move together. And if you don't have the same guys, no continuity going out there from week to week, then it's hard for them to get better. We can sit here and bitch about Big Bill all we want to. We've had a bunch of injuries. You're looking at the top 5 wide receivers are not playing this weekend. Now, I would tell you that maybe this works in favor of your new quarterback because he has more familiarity with the guys that are going to be running.
Mm-hmm.
Jaquez in particularly.
That's a good point. That is actually a really good point. And it's a deal where man, maybe he was so on target. We talked about this earlier. He was so on target with some of those throws that guys had room to catch the ball and run. And it was really interesting watching Petaway look comfortable catching the ball. One of the things that Damian talked about on the show was how easy it was, and they knew this even when Heupel was there. They said Jason White had the best ball of everyone. That his It was so easy to catch that when they caught it, it was in the perfect spot for them to catch and move. Because there is for those who maybe haven't played or don't understand the coaching as a receiver, you are coached to catch that ball, turn over certain shoulders, to get to go into moves where you can accelerate easily and get into getting some yak. If you're not getting yards after catch, your offense is going to be very limited. If those 2 and 3 yard throws cannot turn into 10-yard pickups, at least on occasion, you're going to be limited. And the only time that OU this year has been able to get yards after catch has typically been on short throws where Jackson can be accurate and timely. He knows where the ball is going immediately. And you can go back and look. I believe going into the Tennessee game, Deion Burks had 22 catches for 169 yards. That is not good numbers because it's felt like he's just played out of his mind. He should have probably had 200 more receiving yards on those 22 catches, but they were short throws. They were throws where he could go turn it into about 10 to 15, but there was nothing down the field or to the middle of the field that allowed him to catch it with room to go. And Hawkins, the ball looks like an easier ball to catch when it comes out. The throw to Bauer Sharp where it's across the middle between the hashes, to me that was also a throw where that thing's got velocity on it and Bauer catches it no problem, right? The other throw that I love from Hawkins was the flip at the goal line to Barnes. That was a play that we saw Jackson miss, and this is just the feel of the game earlier in the year, where you have a guy out there, all you've got to do is figure out a way to get him the ball. And I believe it was Bauer Sharp where they ran at that time, where Bauer blocked and then leaked out, and then you're just trying to flip it to him. And OU would have had a first down if Jackson just gets him the ball, but was unable to. So I'm hopeful with this upcoming game. I think Auburn sets up perfectly as like the right kind of opponent before going into Texas. But I think unless there's injury, to me, Hawkins is going to be your starter for the foreseeable future. The Venables comment of Hawkins does the basics really well is implying that Jackson does not do the basics of the offense well. And to me, that's an easy decision.
As much as, yeah, and listen, I mean, it's as simple as that. And I'm not, again, we can talk about all these things, and here we go again with the Bill Bedenbaugh stuff. Look, man, the guy. So one of the things that we forget is that you had a strength and conditioning coach that was a yoga instructor coming into this thing before, and it's taken this amount of time for them to get strength behind them. They've got injuries. I get it, but it's so easy for everybody to just pick out your one little thing. And look, you want to fire Big Bill? Okay. Michael Fasusi, Foji, all this amazing class of offensive linemen are walking with him, just so you understand. And there's 10 other every other SEC program will scramble to hire him immediately.
100%. Alabama
You
hires him
people have
tomorrow.
got
Georgia,
to, you guys have got to get some folks. You got to get a little brain going on here when you start talking about this offensive line stuff. There's more to it than what we're just talking about. You have to look deeper than just what are the results today, right now. Why? You have to look at why. The injuries are what they are. And you can go back and talk about the last 3-4 years. Only 2 of those years has been Brent Venables, and they've been building to this point.
Yeah.
You're a strength guy. You're an athletic trainer. Tell me I mean, the difference in size of this football team today is compared to 3 years ago. It's night and day.
Yeah, it's hugely different, and guys weren't. We know this from watching them on the field, as well as hearing things that Gabe and Teddy have said, hearing some things within the program. We knew that the strength numbers on guys were not good, right? If Bray Walker is your strongest player for a line, he's not seeing the field, right? So typically, it's not always this case, but a lot of times your strongest guys tend to be the guys who play significant amount of snaps, right? There's some wiggle room there. Obviously, some guys aren't great benchers like an Orlando Brown just because he's got extremely long arms. Like the man is his arms go down to his freaking knees. But so it's not great for benching. However, he was a strong player with great athleticism. And Schmitty was able to get him developed, but he wasn't the player in year one that he was in year three, right? So when you get an offensive lineman, I'm going to give everybody the these are the nuts and bolts of strength and conditioning with an offensive lineman going from high school to college. All right. The first thing is most guys do not come from big time programs that have legitimate high school strength and conditioning coaches. So a Jinx, a Union, an Allen, um, a modern day, an IMG, right? Schools that have guys who could also be college strength and conditioning coaches, right? A lot of times you have dads, you have underpaid volunteers, you have interns, you have all different kinds of positions. So when you got an offensive lineman who arrives to campus, first is the size and strength piece, right? Logan Howland looked like a tight end when he arrived. Now he looks like $1 million. To me, he's my favorite prospect on the line. I think he is an NFL level talent. He just
Yeah.
is not there yet. To me, I think he's going to be the best of everyone. I'll put some money on that. The value, his feet are some of the best feet to me in that whole room. He's got a little Lane Johnson to him in terms of just the ability to move, the ability to extend, and to really have some power behind his punch. But I'll try and keep it concise. Size and strength are two pieces. That's obvious. You got to train guys when they first arrive. You're training them on just how to eat. You're training them on how to properly fuel their body to hold 320, right? Some of these guys have not held 320 or it's been a bad 320. So you've got to do that. Hip mobility and the ability to sit in the hips and stay low is also a factor. So guys are doing a ton of hurdle work, over, under. This was one of Orlando Brown's biggest issues. You're doing hurdle jumps. You're doing things where you're pulling your knee into your chest, dropping it down. Ankle mobility, also a big piece. What happens is those prospects in high school are so much bigger and so much stronger than who they're playing against that being a waist bender and not sitting in the hips, not being able to explode out of your stance is not a thing that they really work on unless you go to a big time program where you're seeing a David Stone across from you every practice. And the
Right,
last
right,
piece
right.
also, yeah. The last piece I will say is you're building size, you're building strength, you're training guys on how to move. You still have to learn the game, but it is a 3-year process at bare minimum for most players. And it's a 3-year process because if you arrive and you want to play, you're missing, or if you have to play, you're missing an entire half of a year of lifting because you cannot lift at the same intensity that you do in season if you're
Sure.
playing as you would if you were an offset. Your body, I analogize it to a bucket, right? We only have so much room in our bucket for so much work before we just wipe ourselves out. And you can only fill that bucket with so many things it's a common analogy. Like every strength coach on planet Earth will use that, but it's true. You can't overflow the bucket or else you're going to wipe your guys. So you have to redshirt. You have to stagger position groups that you recruit like year to year. You have to build And Bedenbaugh was limited in the numbers he was able to bring in because Riley said, I'm going to let you bring in 2 offensive linemen. So he's got to hit on both of them, and they got to be ready tomorrow. And oh, by the way, this strength coach he might be good for performance coaching and doing some nuanced work in the private sector, like some of the stuff I do. But to be a strength coach for a team and to know how to put mass on guys and to know how to do it in an efficient and effective way that it applies very well to the game of football, that's a different thing, man. It's not just teaching guys how to bench, and you've got to be able to do that. So I don't think folks understand the process. I appreciate you asking that because that's an important question. There's so much that goes into offensive line
Sure,
more than
sure.
any other group on the team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. In the end, I think, guys, we can sit here and talk about this. And it's like I said before. I think that there's a lot of things that have, for the people that are still saying we need to give Jackson another chance. I understand where you're coming from. I do. I understand where you're coming from. I think the ship has sailed. I said this last week. I think the ship has sailed. I think that that's the opinion you guys have as well. You don't see him play another meaningful snap here unless you get an injury from Hawkins, which could happen with the way that he runs the football. It's a possibility. What you have to do if you're Jackson Arnold is unplug and get reset. You got to reset yourself and get your confidence back. And look, that comes through practice. That comes through going back out there and learning the system and figuring it out and getting back acquainted with the things that made you what you were before. Finding that little mojo that you have. I talked to my son the other day, and he talked about he's a semi-professional golfer, and he talked about, man, I was watching him towards the end of the first half, and you could just see. I remember though he was like, I could relate to that at times on the golf course of when I was not playing well, and you just run out of confidence. And I think that every athlete's been through that at some point, no matter what level you played at, where you went through something and you were getting your ass kicked and you just lost confidence. And it doesn't mean that he can never get it back and he can never play anywhere else. I think he can. I think that he can we'll see what happens. The truth is he probably never plays at OU again. But then again, he could, I think at the moment, if we're talking right now, you have to go with this. You have to go with this kid because, again, I feel like if you go back to Jackson Arnold right now, you're telling that defense that has went out there and basically, look, they gave up 13 points, and basically 12 of those points were definitely on you as an offense, but the other 13 points, yeah, they gave up the one big play on, and that was Billy looking into the backfield for too long, got his hand stuck in the cookie jar right there. You can't let a kid like that get behind you. The other part, I would say that they gave up that rushing touchdown down there towards the end because it was after the whole skip pass, that went backwards. The running touchdown, look, they were tired. They'd been on the field an awful lot. When you saw, they got stronger as the game went on with Hawkins in because he moved the ball a little bit. He didn't put them in bad positions. They were able to, when they didn't get anything out of it, they punted. If you do that, you're telling that defense that, well, we're just going to keep on doing you like that. And it's just, suck it up, Buttercup. You can't do that and have the culture of this team is all about each other and we're doing everything we can to win. We're going to do everything we can to win if you're not putting the best players at every position. And I believe that the best player at the quarterback position is Michael Hawkins.
Yeah, Jason, I completely agree with you. And I got to bounce out of here, and I want to thank you for having me on. Yeah, I think this is to kind of boil it down, I think it's a winnable game. I think we could potentially see a tide turn with this offense. And I think they have the ability to get some mojo. If they go out in this game, man, and they put up 30, or even they put up like an easy, efficient 28, right? And it just
Whatever, man.
looks smooth. They finally break 200 yards passing. I think you're going to see a team that is going to get some confidence back. And to me, that's what it all boils down to. But man, just want to remind everybody, Jason, again, thank you for having me on. Love your show. This whole family
Thanks,
of
man.
content creators is amazing. You do a
Isn't it?
phenomenal job. But guys, go
Thank
listen
you,
to
man.
Barry and Mac show. Yeah, for sure. Myself, Damien, each and every week, 2 to 3 times a week, we're dropping shows. We're also live on OUinsider.com, talking with all the fans, going over film, going over player analysis. It's really good stuff. Damien's dropping his 10 thoughts. And follow us on X. Mine is at
All your
Levi's
information
Fitness.
is in our description right now as we speak too. I wanted to make sure that we did that. I appreciate you guys coming on the show, man, both of you. And I know with D-Mac, that was really cool of him to do that on his way to Disney. So
He's the best, man.
appreciate
He's the best.
both of you
That's my
guys
brothers.
coming in. And I know you're busy with what you got going on, but man, yeah, it was a request, man. The audience here wanted you guys to come in and join us on the show. We've been working to get you back in here for a while now, but I've been getting requests for you the last couple of weeks. So I wanted to make sure we got you guys in here. We're gonna have to do it again real soon.
Absolutely, Jason. I appreciate you, brother. You have a good one.
All right, brother. Have a good one. Barry Wise from the Barry and Mac show. Obviously, we had Damian Mackey, former Oklahoma wide receiver and 2000 national champion, in as well. Really appreciated those guys coming in and giving us some insight into what they saw and all this. And guys, look, I'm not saying that there's not really wrong opinions about all this stuff. I get what you're saying. I'm gonna have my opinion about it of watching it. And if you guys know that I was one of the guys that was saying you got to give this guy time to develop when it comes to JA. The development part is one thing, but we're talking about unforced turnovers that we had the other night that would have sent the game the other way. You can say whatever you want about Tennessee and whether they took their foot off the gas. I'm tired of having this conversation. I'm not going to continue having this conversation because it's silly talk. The bottom line is 22-3, 19-3, 25-3 is not too much to overcome. It's not. So to think that they took their foot off the gas, did he take his player out of harm's way? I think he did a little bit. They threw the ball less because they run the ball more. Anyway, this is what they do as an offense. But they did not stop trying to attack the defense at any point. Period. And it doesn't even matter if they did. They had their starters in. If you watched any of that in the weed stuff with Aaron Murray and those guys from Oklahoma Breakdown, all their starters were still in at the end of the game. Press man, 8 men in the box. They weren't taking their foot off the gas. They were trying to win the damn football game. And what he said to Nico doesn't mean shit. Coaches talk. You've heard a coach speak? They say what they need to say to their players to get what they need out of their players and to, pump their players up. Sometimes you lie to them. It's just how it is. The point is that, look, you found out what you found out the other day, and where you saw Watkins come in, and look, I'm not saying he doesn't have to come in and prove it again, because he does. He does. But I don't think that Auburn's defense is the same thing as what we saw from Tennessee. Tennessee has a lockdown defense, and as much as we thought their secondary wasn't very good, it wasn't bad. But yeah. Internal, it's a confidence issue. It's a confidence issue. Yeah, think about it. Think about it. Yeah, Cybercore, that's a hell of of a prediction. I wouldn't go there and expect all that. And guys, listen, I'm going to say this, to go along with what we're talking about. There's 21 other guys out there. If you don't make that move, if you go back to Jay, knowing that chances are, let's just look at it. Even if you think that you might need him at the end of the year, you have to sit him down right now just to get him refocused back into, because it was clear that his confidence was shot. And I don't want to show that video again of him making mistakes. I don't want to do it. You can go back and watch it yourself. It's at the very first part of this show. That's what we did. We were showing that stuff. realize that this is the fact is those were not forced turnovers. And you've got a defense that is playing elite football right now, not giving up a ton of points. And the reason that the points that were given up was a lot of it had to do with the fact that you kept putting that offense into play in plus territory, minus territory for you. It's not a good thing. And this is one of the better offenses in the country, along with one of the better defenses. They had a chance to win the game, though. They gave you a chance to win that game, and it just didn't work that way. It's just not good. Yep. Yep. And more so off the field, nobody can coach up what only Jay needs to contend with. It's an internal. Yeah, and I would say internal and your confidence and stuff, and a lot of that. Look, there's a lot of things that could be about. I don't know what all that is. It could be the way that they play in practice. That I saw somebody in there talking about that they're playing ones-on-ones and it's all competition. And maybe he's used to practicing in a way that, you know, they don't go hard in practice on the defensive side of the ball. They let the quarterback look good all the time. And he's not used to failure. And he's seen a lot of it because this is a veteran-led, nasty defense. And maybe that shook his confidence some. That's possible, right? That's concerning if that's the case, because if you're not ready for it from them, what are you going to do when you go up against Alabama? What are you going to do when you go up against Georgia at some point? If you're going to be that good, you're going to meet them. What are you going to do when you go up against a team like this Tennessee team that was on your ass? The truth is, we can talk about the offensive line all you want to. I showed you pictures there where all he had to do was hand the ball off, and they had green grass in front of him, in front of the running back. We've talked about these running backs not really doing great, okay? But there's open holes there. He's just not handing it off. I think it got to the point that he did not trust his read at all ever. He made the wrong read the entire night the other night. And I think he has for the most part for the first 3 weeks too. At some point, you got to find out if you got anything else in the chamber. And they did, and you do. You got to go with the kid, at least for now. At least for now. And see if you can figure out something to get Jackson his confidence back. You know, that's just all there is to it. But to me, I told you guys last year before he ever got to campus that if the guy ever got his shot, if Jackson ever got hurt or this kind of thing ever happened, he would probably never see the field again because he's that good. This is not new to him. Oh, here we go with that crap. I'm not listening to all this stuff about the freaking hypo offense and everything else. They weren't ahead by that damn much that he just shut it all down. Get out of here with that stuff. Shout out to Buc-ee's. Thanks a lot, everybody, for coming into the show. We've had over 500 viewers. We've got 31 likes, guys. Are you kidding me? I brought you Barry and Mac like you asked me to, and nobody's even hitting the damn like button. We are not responsible for what happened on the field. You do realize this, don't you? Hit the freaking like button. It's free. Come on now. Well, whatever, dude. Benji, you know what? At some point, you have to make the change. What would you expect anybody to do? And as a Texas fan, I'm going to take with what you say here lightly, but what do you expect? What would you expect anyone to do? What would you expect Sark to do if the same damn thing was going on again with your guy now? And guess what? You may end up with this same damn thing going on. And if it means winning the football game, who are you going to go with? The guy that's going to give you the best opportunity, no matter who he is. Period. Yeah, they would have ran it up if they could have. No doubt about it, man. The people that don't think that he was serious about wanting to kick the shit out of Oklahoma is crazy. Thank you. Appreciate it, Rich. Like button is a correctable mistake. What does that mean? Thanks. Sark would have stuck with it. Oh, really? Okay. Sure. Well, yeah, well, a lot of good that did him whenever he did stick with the guy that first year or that second year whenever they went to Oklahoma State and he was just as bad. But I'll tell you why he stuck with him that game. It was his damn fault that it was going like that. They're playing in crosswinds that are freaking 50 miles an hour, and he's throwing deep balls instead of giving the damn ball to Bijan and Roshan with a damn 10-point lead. That wasn't on Quinn. That was on his ass. That's why he didn't. Thank you, Rhyming. Thank you. What about Quinn? You know what? Quinn doesn't always show up in the big moments either. He's lost 2 years in a row to Washington teams that he should have beaten both times, and he didn't. They didn't have a great defense. He couldn't go get it done. He did one shot at the end zone from 12 yards out whenever they gave you every opportunity to win in that playoff game. Don't give me that bullshit about Quinn because he ain't that great. He ain't that great. I know everybody wants to say he's all that. He ain't. In the moments that matter, he hasn't been great. He just hasn't been. And to me, I hope you stick with him. I just got to say, I hope you stick with him. I don't know that makes you wonder, was J.A. the starter based on promises made in NIL? I don't know. I think that NIL in terms of what boosters may have given him, sure. I don't know what's going on, and I would tell you that I'm not sure about that. The other thing that I would say is that, and I'm not going to sit here and go that direction. I think that obviously they want to find out who this guy is. There's a reason he won Elite 11. There's a reason that they played for 2 state championships in Texas 6A. The guy's not a bum. And there are things that have happened throughout this early part of this. This is unprecedented amounts of guys that have been hurt. Unprecedented. I think you got to go back. Maybe you could go back to what? 2005, maybe 2008. Which year was it? There was another year that it was insanity that you had a bunch of guys that got hurt. But it's just, this is not something that you see a lot of. Not just on the offensive line, the receiver room. You didn't have all the, that work with all those guys. A lot of things conspired to help him lose his confidence. Not the least of which is probably the bowl game where everybody's been talking shit. When you talk about not looking at social media as much as he talks about not looking at social media, it tells me he was looking at social media and that was grinding on him too. Or maybe, as Kimberly K said the other night, his girlfriend or his family or whoever, that everybody's aware of it, you become aware of it too. And here's the other thing. Gabe said early on in spring that Michael Hawkins looked better to him than Caleb Williams did at that time. And there was whispers about that he was pushing Jackson. That can also get in your head if you're looking over your shoulder. A lot of guys are fine with it. A lot of guys aren't. Pressure either makes diamonds or bursts pipes. Apparently, in this case, it bursted him. He was worried and saw this kid breathing down his neck, just kind of like Spencer Rattler did, and it manifested itself into what it did. He never looked like he was comfortable, even in the Temple game. Yes, he had 4 touchdowns. They were shitty. The Houston game, he didn't look great. The Tulane game, he looked better, but he had a pick 6 too that was a stupid pick 6. In the end, none of that matters whenever you get into this game and you see those three. Look, you can maybe excuse the fumble. You can maybe excuse the fumble. Thank you, Claymore. I appreciate that. Appreciate the channel, Jason. Thank you for that. Thank you for the super chat. That's good. Appreciate that. You can maybe excuse the fumble because according to Gabe, that was a fake pitch call. It was not a pitch call. I don't know if there was an option there. Damian said he felt like there might have been. I don't know that there was. If there wasn't, he ran the play, but you got to protect the football better. And we're talking again, one play after they force a turnover inside their own 5-yard line. You tie the game up right there. 10-10. At the very least, you're at 10-6 because they kick a field goal if you just don't turn the ball over there. The next time you do it, Trace Ford forces another fumble on Nico. They're inside they're in the 30-yard line. Another field goal is at the minimum what you should do. One play, and I showed it to you, not good. According to Venables, it wasn't even an option. When you're hearing ghosts and seeing things at the point that you're doing things that aren't even in the confines of the play that you called, this is an issue. But I'm going to go back to what I also said about Coach Venables. I love Coach Venables. I think he's the guy. But it's time for him to take responsibility for all of it. Forget the autonomy on both sides of the ball. The game plan is on you. Let your coaches do their job, but know what their job is and hold them accountable for doing it. That goes with every room on that side. If everybody on the defensive side of the ball is there based on merit in their positions, it should be the same thing on the other side. And I'm not sure that that's the case in the running back room, and I'm not sure that that's been the case as far as the receivers have gone, although I don't know that that's necessarily the case. All I know is that the running back rotation has long been my thing of like, what the are you doing, DeMarco? Why? I'll go back to Bedlam last year. Javonte hadn't been in the damn game for a month. You just got a long run out of Gavin Sawchuk. Okay, you need a breather. Tawi has been killing it all year. And you bring in Javonte and decide we're going to go direct snap here. Now, first of all, that's Levy's call, but why is Javonte in there? He told us that he was hurt all year. He was never healthy. That doesn't make sense to me. Somebody asked here just a minute ago, why hasn't Hicks gotten a carry all year? I think he got hit. I think he may have gotten broken by a certain player in the secondary. But I don't know if that's the case for sure because you know what? DeMarco doesn't answer questions about that stuff, and nobody actually seems to question him on any of it. Again, I love DeMarco as much as anybody, any Oklahoma guy, for what he did as a player. I'm not sure that I get what he's doing as a coach. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. Well, parents calling about the OC. That happens a lot, guys. All I would tell you is we've seen Seth be very good as a play caller elsewhere. There's something else to it as well. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you and take up for Seth in all ways, shape, and form because I don't understand the game plan from the other day. Why you're running at when you're running the football, you're running at the teeth of this defense. What's best about this defense, which is its interior of its defensive line where they've got the most depth. Doesn't make sense to me. I didn't get it. You know, I mean, look, we could sit here and, you know, when Gabe was talking about that fateful safety, that really probably is the one that the straw that broke the camel's back before anything else had happened. He talked about it right there that, you know, the communication was bad with the offensive line. And what happened? It got the 3 technique unblocked, killing Javonte in the freaking end zone. You know, if you just, and you know, of course, if you don't have a false start the play before, that's not a safety. Yeah, we're not gonna, I mean, look, guys, all this Kel Gundy talk is wasteful. Cracker Mac. I mean, I'm just gonna tell you guys, he's never gonna be back at Oklahoma. He's not. It's not gonna happen. And the conversations about it is a waste of damn time. Because bottom line is he did something he shouldn't have done, and it was egregious to the point that they'll never hire him back. And then on top of that, his daughter started talking a bunch of shit about BV after he resigned, whatever you can call it, whatever you want. He basically got fired. He ain't coming back. I would tell you, I wish that we had somebody that recruited and developed like that, but you can find that guy. You can find that guy. Yes, they're saying the running back and OC can't get one on. What are you saying, Mars Jams? Should have hit the edges for sure. Not the middle of the damn field. There is a difference in what they're doing. There's a difference in the recruiting there. Because here's what I would ask you, and I'm not trying to be shitty about any of the guys that are in that room. Which one of them, aside from Taylor Tatum, that we've seen, because we haven't seen anything out of X-Rob, we haven't seen anything out of Hicks, which one of those guys is truly electric in an Oklahoma running back? I'll wait. Which one of them? I like Javonte as much as the next guy. I wouldn't tell you he's dynamic. I think that that's what Damian Mackey's been saying as well. Yeah. That's all. Aren't on the same page? Okay. Yeah, I could see. I don't think that he's been on the same page really with anyone so far. Norman, get. Hold on. Sorry about that, gentlemen. Benji's worrying about Hawkins being the real deal. Yeah. I think that may have something to do with it too. I wouldn't mind that, but here's the thing. This is the whole point of it is that we don't really know what it is. You hear that he's not going to let anybody in that doesn't pass block well. Okay, well, I figured that X-Rock can probably do that well. It feels like Hicks should be able to do that well, unless if Hicks is hurt, and I don't know if that's the case. It could be. Apparently, that is the case when it comes to the kid that you got out of Middle Tennessee. But the times that he's run the football, he's broken big plays. What we do know is that he was a big-time runner last year. And, yeah, look, if you can't pass block, you can't be in. I don't know, man. I feel like you have to give these guys some run when they can give you a spark in some way, shape, or form. Use them for what they're good for. Coach them up better for that matter. I don't know. But to me, if you thought he was good enough for you to go get him out of the portal and let him walk on, you need to put him in the game some. Because we haven't seen anything out of Gavin Sawchuk. Nothing. How is that? Yeah, Franklin. Yes. It doesn't make sense to me. Why is it that we're not seeing anything out of him? A Gruden moment, I think it was worse than that. Yeah. Apparently he had been, and then you think about it, that first game, or was it the second game, whatever it was, he had like a 35, 36-yard run, his only touch of the football game. Of course, DeMarco was suspended for that game. We haven't really seen him since. I don't remember seeing him after that. Maybe once, but I feel like at this point, you don't really know. Your rotation hasn't, I don't see that it's set in stone and working. And how is it that the people that are asking about Taylor Tatum and all this stuff, he got hurt. You could tell he was hurt. And apparently, I didn't notice this earlier, but I did see it in the replay. The first run, he got dinged head into the head. They hit him head to head, hit him when he was down, actually. And he got up and he was wobbling all the way back into the backfield. They didn't even stop the game and get him out of there. They run him again. And he kind of comes up, and it looked like he was holding his side. I thought he landed on the football. Come to find out, he got smacked. And I mean, looking at it, you can go back and find it. It's before the half. But definitely it's a concussion, and it's a bad one. He may not even make it back by the Red River, apparently. It's not a good one. So the injury, I mean, look, finally they were getting him in, but what are we missing here? I mean, you guys got to be – it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me what's going on all around there. The offense needs a spark. JB doesn't have that shake. He runs like a track guy trying to play football. No cutbacks, no eyes. They certainly don't seem to put them in the great position. Running backs have looked best out of a 2-back set. Yeah. But why do you think that is, Claymore? I would tell you that when you've got the offensive line in a 2-back set, that's not an RPO. So the line knows what they're doing. They're run blocking. The easiest thing to do to get a offensive line that's struggling to stop struggling is to run the football and have them know what the hell they're doing. It's easier to run block than it is anything else because you're firing off the ball, not having to sit back and do the pat. And I would tell you that makes sense. Why, when you got a 2-back set in, they're not doing a bunch of RPO stuff. That's not part of it. That's what I would say. Yeah, he got rocked. It was targeting. Yeah, I like it too. The line can fire. Mm-hmm. Oh well, and they were popping. You look at, they're talking a bunch of shit about it now. They got an off week, so they're going to just sit there and talk a bunch of shit, and believe me, it's still going on. They're still watching all those videos from last week and running their mouth and popping in the live streams and all that other shit. Not that I care at this point, but the truth is Oklahoma owes them one next year. I'm glad they're going to play them again, and I don't care that it's in their house because hopefully you'll be in a better position to go in and win than you were this year. And honestly, they were in a great position to win this year at home. So it is what it is. I think they'll probably be a little bit better, but I think OU will also. I think if you played them 10 more times, we'll see how many times that they won and how many times OU did. I think you would probably be a 50-50 at worst. Oh, yeah. But I'm just going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this right here, Remote Biz. The reason that, he didn't have a great junior year, and there was reasons for that. He was, playing for Chad Morris at Allen, and that was a bad situation. A lot of little weird. You're going to have to go back and look it up yourself. I don't want to say too much, but there's a lot of racism stuff that was going on over there, and he was having to go through. So he moved to ended up at Frisco Emerson after that. And look, showed out at 55 touchdowns to 3 turnovers on the season. 55-3. Single-handedly took them to the semifinals. They lost in a close game to South Oak Cliff in the 5A playoffs. This is what and Emerson was a 4-year-old football team. That school was 4 years old. They had their first set of seniors was last year. He carried them there. Between him and his brother Malik on the defensive side, but he was the guy. The fact that nobody made any adjustments on who he was, and he didn't go to a bunch of camps, but just put it to you this way, he works with Kyler Murray's dad. We know what Kyler Murray's dad produced in Kyler. He never lost a high school football game, ever. Like, 50-0, somewhere in that neighborhood. Never lost a high school football game. Number 1 pick, Heisman winner, and top 10 draft pick in the Major League Baseball draft as well. Different cat. And he's been working with Michael Hawkins. And Michael Hawkins' dad, also NFL player, defensive back, played for BV. He's that guy. Underrated for sure. Yeah. I would say that that's probably the case. No doubt. But they're talking about it a lot and, it's making it personal, and that's cool. I listen, I have no problem with it, just so you understand. It doesn't bother me. I'm just telling you that I think that when it all boils down to it, a rivalry has probably been born on its own just because of that. And that's cool. That's how it should be born. That's how they should be. Yep. Yeah. Fumble too. Luckily, you got it back. Yep. You can say that if you want to. He's not Kyler yet because he hasn't had an opportunity to. But I'm going to tell you right now, Kyler didn't look worth a damn his first year at A&M. He didn't. He got benched real quick. Now, after he came to Oklahoma and sat behind Baker for a couple of years and worked with Lincoln, yeah, he looked really good after that. But you can say that if you want to, but the dude carried a team that would have never, I guarantee you, Frisco Emerson without him will not go that far. They won't. You see, he is worried about him. I think the odds are really good already, no matter what happens this weekend. But I would tell you that they very much need to win this football game tomorrow. Very much need to win this football game tomorrow. You don't know shit about what he is and what he isn't, man. You don't. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I was messed up, Big Bog. Yeah. It is, isn't it? You're going to find out. You haven't watched shit of him. You haven't seen anything of him. Just because he didn't come out as a 5-star guy doesn't mean that you have this right. I'm telling you, I was telling people a year ago that he was way underrated. Way underrated. It's a fact. He's good. And when he kicks your ass in a couple of weeks, what are you going to say then? Zachary, another one of these Tennessee fans. I think that is you, huh? Yeah, good. Good for well, yeah. I don't know how much you guys like Cole Barnes, huh? Got him from the other UT. He was underrated in high school. I'm not the only one saying it. You're right about that, but I don't give a shit if I am the only one saying it. I was the one watching the dude play week to week. The fact that it took Jeff Lebby a lot longer than it should have to give him an offer was an indictment on Jeff Lebby, in my opinion. Period. Plain and simple. He made him come throw for him. As a legacy guy, he actually was in the same class as his dad at Oklahoma and made him come throw. Whatever, bro. Yeah. Kale got punished hard. The player didn't. Okay. Hey guys, we're not going to get into a sociology argument in here about what he did and didn't do and whether that was right or wrong. The bottom line is Kale's not going to be back in that locker room. I'm not going to do all this with you guys. I'm not going to tell you that I agree or disagree with you. I can tell you that it wasn't just that he read it one time, though. The way that they made the story at first, if there is a discrepancy in what happened, he read it over and over again. They didn't say that to start with because they didn't want to make him look bad. Then his daughter started talking shit on Twitter, and then Venables had to release another statement and told the entire truth about what happened. It hurt the kids in the room. That was enough for them. He had to go. And the university made that decision as much as anybody did. And even Coach Stoops said, you know what? This had to happen. And they all love Kale, and everybody loves Kale. Look, his players were sticking up for him. You heard what Joe Mixon said. I mean, you saw the letter that he wrote. I'm not going to sit here and get into all this on who was right and who was wrong. They were both right. They were both wrong. If it's the guy that I think it was, he didn't play that year. So you could say that was or wasn't a punishment. They would never tell you it was or wasn't anyway. They wouldn't. Because they didn't want anybody to know who it was, because they didn't want a bunch of crazy people going after the kid. But I can tell you that kid did not play as a true freshman. It is what it is. And he knows he was in the wrong as well to say that no matter what. I don't know what else to say to you guys other than that was the end of Kel Gundy at Oklahoma as a coach. It just was. Word is it was Stoops who wrote it. That's hilarious, Keaton. No, it wasn't. Because Stoops knows that white guys don't get to say that shit. And you can say what you want about that. It's just a rule. I don't know. But he's a Bama guy. Freeze the cancer. No, they wouldn't have him here. They threw a shit fit about Lebby, and I would tell you that everything that I know about what actually happened at Baylor, I don't give a damn what Ketch was telling you guys yesterday that he knew this or he knew that. I don't care what Ketch was saying. There's a lot of weird shit that was going on at Baylor long before Lebby and Briles and those guys got to town. Yeah, I mean he's an Oklahoma guy, but he's not going to be on this staff, particularly as long as let's say whatever reason they want to forgive him or whatever, Venables won't. That got personal. Yeah. No, and I get that. Ryman. I'm just letting you know. I mean, I just feel like, to me, we can have this. We can have the argument, but the point, it's kind of pointless because nobody's gonna. It's just not gonna happen. That was definitely a rumor that popped around there. I can tell you that I don't think it's correct, but I'm pretty sure it's not correct. I think it's kind of funny. I do think it's kind of funny. The implication is funny. The word itself, I mean, I don't know why anybody uses it, but yeah, man, there was a lot of shit that was going on at Baylor. Absolutely, the cover up for the murder, Patrick Dennehy, and all that. Yes, absolutely. And there was rapes going on. You can go back. You can find this yourself if you want to look. I went back last year after the whole thing with Bryles at the start of the season, and went back through what I remembered, and then found even more stuff. And the truth is, I don't think that Bryles and Lebby, any of them had a whole lot to do with it. I think a lot of it was covered up by other people. Now, do I think that Bryles handled it very well? No. No, he didn't. No, he did not. Yeah, that's pretty wild. I didn't even realize that, Billy. Norman, lay down right there. Lay down. I didn't even realize he was. Right. Watch South Alabama show out versus LSU. They have a good offense. Well, in LSU's defense has got really hit hard, right? Really hit hard. All right, guys. I got to get ready for work, and I need to get dosed up with meds before I do so. Appreciate everybody coming in. It's been a lively conversation today, and I love that about us, that we can do that from time to time. Good. I believe that they're doing what they had to do. And you're seeing Brent Venables graduate a little bit. There's Norm. You see Norman back there pouting. Venables is doing what he had to do. Lou Becker, good Norman, good dog. Yeah, he's good. All right. He's good and crazy. Yeah, man. We appreciate you guys coming in. Thank you, Benji. I appreciate all you guys. 34-14 OU. I'm going to say 24-10. I'm going to keep it at 24-10 because I don't want to expect too much out of it. I think that going on the road, it could be tough. I don't know what the field conditions will be like with the hurricane. We'll see. And I think that they're pretty good up front as well. Expectations, I think they get better every week. And I think that that's really all you have to do if you're Oklahoma, get a little bit better every week on the offensive side of the ball, take care of the football, win the turnover battle. They're 11-0 when they win the turnover battle. Go and win. Go out there, let your defense lead the way. Just don't give them free points, and you're probably going to win most games. So I think you get a little bit better every week. You're going to have an opportunity at the end of the year to get yourself into the playoff. We'll find out if that's the case. But as of right now, I think you have a quarterback that's dynamic enough to deal with things a little bit better than the one that you had before, that when it's not perfect and the pocket's not clean. He doesn't get happy feet. I look forward to seeing if I'm right or wrong. But thanks a lot, everybody, for coming in. Love you guys. Yeah, he has treats, bro. I promise. He'll get them in here in a second. He's being a good dog back there, sitting there watching. He knows he's on camera. Turd ass dog. 17-13 OU, 24-20. Bishop Frank said 28-10, 33-9. I think I said 33-9 or something like that yesterday. Yeah, 31-6 says Boomer, T-Boomer. Model predictions 24-10. That is why I went back. Actually, real quick, before I get out of there, let me pull that up. I'll give you guys his Richard Shear's model predictions. They're pretty good. I like them. All right. I'm going to present them. You guys can get over there and check these out. He's done pretty well. And I appreciate you sending these to us as well every week. I'll make sure that we start doing it. Here we go. I'll post the poll a little bit later. It's because I've been sick. I hadn't done it, and I didn't even check and see if it did it right. But Kentucky Ole Miss, You've got Ole Miss 17.5, giving 17.5. Arkansas, is that okay? Yeah. Why is Texas A&M favored? They are giving 4. Well, they're 4-0 if they didn't blow the Oklahoma State game in a close game. Give me the more electric quarterback. In that case, it would be Taylon Green, says Rich. So you're going with, obviously, you're expecting them to cover, and Ole Miss to cover. You're expecting Arkansas to win, despite, what you got them winning outright when they were okay. I got you. And same thing with Oklahoma. Best bet of the weekend. Take Oklahoma in the under. The OU defense could beat Auburn by themselves. Love it. Mississippi State at Texas. Take the under. Starting quarterback is gone for the season, and they were awful with him. True. Texas D is allowed 0, 12, 7, and 3. Even if Texas scores 50 plus, the under is probably the best one. I agree with you on that. Who do you got on that? And you've got Bama over Georgia, 24-20. Oh, that's even getting the most confident in the under. Okay. Yeah. Tell me who you guys like. Tell me who you guys like in that game. I actually probably like Texas A&M in the Arkansas game a little bit too, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went the other way. I'd probably leave that one alone. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Kimberly K. I'm feeling okay. It's just stuffiness and stuff. I feel a ton better today than I did 2 days ago. I was brutally sick, but I got to go into work today because going in Tuesday, I think got the editor sick. So now I got to cover. The PayPal account. Oh, yeah. You can always super chat us on not PayPal necessarily, but through Venmo or Cash App. That is in our right in our description as well. Make sure you jump on there and check out our official show merchandise at hofmedia.us/pod-merch and change. Hey, you really should be looking into changing out of big wireless and switching to Mint Mobile. 3 months unlimited talk, text, and data on the nation's largest 5G network for just $45. That's $15 a month. If you switch over, it would go up to keep unlimited, goes to $30 a phone. Me doing that with the 2 phones that I pay for is saving me $1,600 this year. It's better service than I was actually getting from Verizon. I love it. It's no harm, no foul. And actually, there is actually, I want you guys to help me out I'll have some information about this soon, but I'm going to need some help from you guys on doing a commercial. I may have you guys do some stuff on that to try to help us get the person who gets the most signups through this over the next few months to finish out the year. I think it's like $5,000 or something like that. So it would be kind of cool if we were able to do that. Plus, you get a little piece whenever somebody signs up as well. In the end, it saves a lot of money off of your wireless bill, and you get the same service. You can try it out using the phone that you have. You can do those 3 months, not get rid of your other service. Just try it out. You have the second line on the same phone. You can see what you think of it in those places that might concern you in the long run. It worked out for me. It might work out for you. Give it a shot. No harm, no foul if it doesn't work. But if it does, you save a lot of money. Also, get your officially licensed Sooners and any other apparel that you like at hofmedia.us/fanatics. That is our Fanatic store. You'll get better deals than you get from Fanatic any other time. Jump in there and check it out. Of course, the free way to make sure that you help the program is just to hit the like button. All right, guys. I appreciate everybody coming in. What's up there? Bama Talk with John. If you haven't already become a member of his show, go over there and do it. Great stuff. He talks national college football along with Alabama. Give us your prediction on Bama, Georgia before we get out of here, and the Oklahoma game at Auburn. Put it in there. Did I ever forget when they caught Levy on the Tulsa sideline? I didn't. That pissed Bob off something fierce. Yeah, you did? Cool. I'll let me check a look at that. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, Benji. I've got to make sure that that thing's louder. Did you have a comment with it? Hey, man, appreciate it. Says, hope you're feeling better and hook 'em. All right, well, that's the only time you're going to get those words to come out of my mouth. And since you did that, I'll end it with this.
The brand has finally returned. Fuck your brand.
Hey, man, appreciate you guys coming in. 27-17 OU and 20-17 Alabama, says John from Bama Talk with John. Make sure you guys get over there and subscribe to his channel. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for coming in. See you on we'll see you tomorrow after the game. We'll talk to you right after that on K Chris's show, and then we'll be doing one over here on this channel as well with Coach Ricks. See you soon on the next one.